think a lot of people think euthanasia is a very terrible reality for a lot of these animals, but I'd rather take humane euthanasia over years of improper husbandry and suffering. It's just kind of like a really hard reality of the mistakes of the animal industry in general.
There's been a notable rise in cryptosporidium cases. Last year, I think we had 11 intakes that tested positive.
Like, they know they're sick, but they won't take them to the vets. Because you can't say no. I take them all in.
We do have right now 193 snakes here and a leopard gecko.
The situation with royal pythons is terrible. It's the most common animal I get in personally.
Do you see more morphs with genetic defects or more normal?
Yeah, we've had a few.
Oh my God.
It's so bad.
I mean, you know that if you breed spiders, you breed champagne, you breed jaguar and carpet pythons, all of the offspring are going to have some neurological deficit in some way. Why are we even doing that in the first place? It's
pure selfishness, just for the pretty colors and the pretty patterns. It's just pure selfishness of humans.
It's a recipe for disaster.
When did animals become like objects and commodities instead of living beings? Like, what do you mean trade it? Like, what?
A lot of people have this hoarding situation in the UK, especially breeders, where they kind of like chase dopamine. So like they'll get a new animal every month.
Yeah.
It must be a mental health thing for them. I don't know. They're just chasing this kind of rush all the time. And that's how it gets out of control, because there's no like boundaries that they've got in place.
What are some ways that you cope with the heartache and the pressure that comes from what you see and experience? As a reptile lover or a lover of animals in general, just a warning that some parts of this discussion are going to be disturbing to hear. But if you truly care about animal welfare, then I implore you to not only listen to all of what's said here, but to act as a result. These organizations and so many others like them need your support in order to continue their truly heroic work. So please make sure to check the description below for the ways you can donate money, supplies, or time, follow and share their social media pages, find a rescue in your area to help out in a similar fashion, and consider adopting to give an animal the second chance at life and love that they deserve. Comment, hit the like button, and share this video so it gets more attention. And if you appreciate my efforts in creating this kind of content, you can help me make more of it by subscribing, using the affiliate links to buy enclosures and substrate, and better yet, becoming a patron at patreon.com/snaketherapy with Shiraloa. The Reptile Roundtable is an ongoing series, so if you haven't already, check out the other videos in the playlist and feel free to submit ideas for topics or guests you'd like to hear from in future conversations. Thanks so much for watching. Well, welcome to another installment of the Reptile Roundtable series. Today's topic is reptile rescues, and I'm joined by 4 different organizations from across the US and even the UK. This discussion has been highly anticipated by myself and many others who watch this channel who aren't just passionate about reptiles, but also about ethics and welfare concerns within herpetoculture. Thank you all for taking the time to speak with me today. I know all of you have a lot on your plates, and we're all from very different time zones, so I'm very grateful we could make this happen. We have a lot to cover today, so I think we should just dive right into introductions. I'm just going to quickly introduce myself, and then we'll get down to the important stuff, which is who you are and what you do. So I'm Shiraloa. My channel, Snake Therapy, is about how caring for snakes can have amazing benefits to our mental and emotional health, the importance of learning about how to support their needs in return, and about mindfulness, empathy, and compassion in our relationships with them. So let's go around and have each of you introduce yourselves and your organizations, where you're located, how did you start, and how long have you been operating, and the size of your organization.
So I'm Mandy. I own a Shedding Chance Reptile Rescue. We're located in Connecticut, United States. We are a small volunteer-based nonprofit 501c3 reptile rescue that is ran by 9 volunteers currently. We don't have a location specifically, but we all run out of our homes. We are separated into general fosters and then medical fosters who are able to deal with medical cases. We're the only 501c3 reptile rescue in the state of Connecticut that deals with all types of reptiles, not specifically geared towards one species in particular. And we've been running since we became an official 501c3 of January 31st of 2024. And it kind of happened unexpectedly. I had a really fat African clawed frog named Dumpling who went viral. And it started the whole moneymaker aspect of social media. Always wanted to be involved in reptiles, but wanted to give back to the community. There was a lot of ethical and moral issues within the reptile community. I thought, what better way than to start a reptile rescue? Had a lot of friends from the reptile community from already volunteering. Started really early on in my reptile stages of life as a kid, going herping, looking into community science efforts with diamondback terrapins, native species, stuff like that, tagging them and stuff. So let's do domesticated reptiles and start there. And then we became a 501c3. Here we are, and wouldn't trade it for the world. But yeah, so we're Shedding Chance Reptile Rescue, and we're located in Connecticut.
Hi, my name is Kayla. I'm the founder owner of Reptile Savior Reptile Rescue. I started this when I was actually 14 years old as like a part-time little thing that I did alongside high school. I started this because when I was around 10 years old, I got a bearded dragon from my parents, and he was not properly taken care of. We weren't educated properly. We couldn't really find the right resources to take care of him. And he ended up passing away. We took him to the vet a few times, and he just wasn't getting better. I believe with my knowledge now, I believe he had a severe vitamin A deficiency and a calcium deficiency. We didn't know that the UVB was supposed to be replaced and stuff like that. So a few years later, when more information came out and Reptifiles came out and all these resources started coming out, and I learned that he wasn't properly being taken care of, I wondered how many others are suffering like this. Mm-hmm. And I checked Craigslist, and I was actually disgusted. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, they just have so many neglected animals in improper cages. I took in a leopard gecko named Tango, who was only 18 grams. As an adult, she was skin and bones, and she miraculously made a full recovery and got adopted out. And that ultimately started my passion. I'm 18 now, and I'm working on making this 501c3 so we can make it a little more official. And we've taken in 198 reptiles now. Wow. So we're getting there. It's been a lot. There's been, a lot of emotional aspects to it, of course. And it's hard because we don't have very many volunteers. We do have 4 people, and we have 5 fosters right now, but we're definitely looking to expand and get more people because right now I have 28 animals in my house spread across 3 rooms. So it's a lot. But yeah, that's a little bit about us. I'm excited to hear about the rest of you guys.
Hi, I'm Lori Trini, and I'm with Spirit Keeper Animal Sanctuary, and we do have a facility. It's located in Colorado. We were founded in 2014, and we're a 501c3. We're also PACFA licensed. In the state of Colorado, shelters and rescues have to be licensed. We started out as an equine rescue, but very shortly after that, it became apparent that we needed to expand because we were getting inundated with people who wanted to relinquish other species. And then my other self runs Behavior Education, LLC. I'm an animal trainer and behaviorist, and predominantly now a lot of my work in that business is with snakes and other reptiles, as well as horses and some dogs and other species. But I kept getting asked more and more to help out with snakes. And so now actually our sanctuary has, I added it up, but I'm tired now and don't remember. We have over 200 animals here now, and that includes snakes, dogs, horses. We had a pig here until a few days ago. We have a leopard gecko. We've had over the years birds, guinea pigs, llamas, donkeys, you name us. We actually have a guinea pig here now that someone dumped. But we do have right now, between my behavior education snakes and the ones in the rescue, 193 snakes here and a leopard gecko. So our biggest challenge is we have to keep up with our PACFA licensing. We can't use foster homes. So all of the animals, and that's for our insurance, we can't use foster homes. So all of our animals have to be here at the facility. And we just daily have to turn people away. I mean, we have limited staff. So we have 2 people that live on site, and then we have a 6-person board of directors, and we have just a handful of local volunteers, like 4. And then we have about 15 volunteers across the United States that do different support services for us. Like our adoptions team is not local. Our record keeping person is not local. And so thankfully, with the use of the internet and Zoom and all of the virtual things that we're able to do now, we were able to expand our volunteer staff to more than just local people, which has helped immensely. But I mean, I just got contacted yesterday by someone who wants to relinquish 2 snakes, and we're just so full. And so every day it just breaks my heart that people ask for help, and we're having to say, no, we can't take that horse, or we can't take that snake. And it's very frustrating. And I know we're not the only rescue that's frustrated with that. We have some other reptile rescues here in Colorado that are licensed and are 501c3s, and they don't even anymore take certain species of snakes because there's just so many that people want to relinquish their full.
Yeah, so my name's Jordan. So I run Midlands Reptile Rescue in the UK. It's a place called Birmingham. As I told you earlier, UK isn't that big. But I started this around 1.5 years ago. I've always kept animals since I was like 10 years old. Steve Owen was like my biggest influence when I was a kid. I used to go jump on the teddy bears, try and be him. And then as I got older, I just kind of naturally started keeping my own pets. And then about 1.5 years ago, my career changed a little bit and I had a bit more time. And similar to Kayla, I was looking at, listings online, and I rescued a Burmese python from a pretty bad situation, but I took him in, got him right, and then I found him a good home and I really enjoyed it. So I thought, I'm going to start to do this from home on a smaller scale. My girlfriend encouraged me to do it because I was and ahhing for ages. And it kind of went from there. So I run from home. In the UK, it's a little bit different. There's actually no legislation, which I feel that there needs to be. But yeah, so basically anyone can do it. But obviously this is the problem. Sometimes you have the good and the bad. And for me, I just want to push good welfare and just, find good animals, the best homes long term. That's the plan.
And so it's just you and your girlfriend that take care of all these animals?
Yeah, so me and my girlfriend helps out a lot. I've got a 7-year-old son. He's quite hands-on actually. And I've got a good friend. So he comes like once a week and he'll help with like the deep cleans and stuff like that. So I'd say we've got about 40 animals at the moment in, and that's a mix. I'd say over 50% are snakes. And you've got your bearded dragons, your leopard geckos, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not too big, but I feel like from home it works quite well. People can come to the house, and it's more of a personal experience for people. So I quite enjoy it.
Does any of your organizations do, supplemental educational or activism work to help support the rescue mission itself?
Yeah, so we host educational like seminars for kids for like little animal day camps. We also go to Reptile Expos specifically with pamphlets on how to take care of your reptiles. We never bring adoptable animals with us. It's something that like we are strongly against. If you want an animal, you have to go to our website. We have to see the husbandry that you're going to provide that animal. We need to know how much money you make if you have a car, if you're going to bring that animal to the vet. If you've researched the exotic vets around your area, there are some exotic vets that will not take a Burmese python that is 70 pounds. They just have a weight limit or they have a size limit on the snake. There are some vets that won't see tortoises, like they won't see a full grown sulcata. And we need to make sure that these people have, a outdoor enclosure for certain species of tortoises and an indoor one during the winter time. Because again, we're in Connecticut, we get both seasons of very, very hot and very, very cold. So we need to be accountable for those. We do events with adopters, with families. So if we have a family who's interested in adopting an animal, we'll go through the husbandry with the kids. We'll ask the kids, like, what research they've done on the animals. We'll make sure that the kids know what they're getting into. The parents will talk on the side, like, do you know the year commitment that you're getting into? We strongly suggest, like, purchasing, the correct husbandry requirements, the enrichment requirements for the animal. A favorite source of ours, like Kayla mentioned, was Reptiles. We'll usually send, like, we have like a standard like format that we send all of our adopters that are like, here are our favorite YouTube videos of per species, like of what we recommend you check out. If we're, family's not sure if they're going to fall in love with an animal, we usually recommend that they like, go to somebody's house who has the animal, ask them like, kind of the questions they wouldn't want to ask a rescue. Like, how many times does this thing poop? What is the cleanup like? Can I hold it? Can I interact with it? Like, what does a day look like on a busy work week, like with this animal? Just so they can be a little vulnerable with somebody and understand what they're really getting into. And if they're really not sure about the age, like the length of time that they're going to have this animal, like, really try to go for a senior animal. We get a lot of bearded dragons in, we get a lot of snakes in that have really long lifespans. Go adopt a senior animal. They are just as spunky as their, their younger age variant, friend, companion, whatever. Go for your senior friends. They're just as fun, especially leopard geckos. The 13-year-olds are just as great as having a 2 or 3-year-old. So that's what we try to do as well.
Our most recent one, actually, we went to a veterinary technician classroom and we brought in 6 or 7 different animals, all ones that are super docile with people and seem to enjoy the interaction. Like Stanley, our frilled dragon, he sits at the front of the glass sometimes, just like begging to come out and just be held, sit in the sun. And we teach them, most importantly, about their husbandry, their lifespan, the common issues they have. We go over why UVB lighting is so important and what are the main things to avoid if you're going to get a reptile. We talk about the red lighting and the carpet and the supplementation, how important that is, veterinary visits. The thing that surprises people the most is when we start getting into lifespans, though, when we mention how, a ball python, for example, the oldest one is 63 years old. That shocks people. They never expect such a small animal to live that long. They live longer than, some people, which is crazy, especially the tortoises. They can outlive you easily. And a lot of people will not take that into consideration. So we usually do classrooms. We haven't done any expos yet, mainly because getting a booth is so expensive. But classrooms right now, and I'm hoping to start doing definitely more of them. And I want to do like assemblies at schools where it's not just one classroom, like where they go in the big multi-purpose room and we do something like that. But yeah, I'm trying to focus on teaching the youth right now because there's so many kids that love reptiles and want to get into them and don't even know the half of it.
Yes, we do a lot of education. I mean, I do it through my other YouTube channel, Behavior Education, where I teach a lot about snake behavior and training, but also occasionally I'll put up some videos about other species on there, like horses and dogs. But as far as here in Colorado, I or somebody else will go to events if we're asked and speak, and it's mostly about how to read body language and how to assess stress behavior in snakes or other animals. We don't take animals to events because that's stressful for them. Although we're not GFAS certified, which is the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, because it's extremely expensive to do that. And it takes a lot of work, and I just don't have the staff to meet all of their requirements as far as the administrative side. We try to go by their guidelines, and they're very strict about taking animals off site and having visitors interact with animals. So while we don't take volunteers just off the street, so to speak, we do accept interns from colleges. So we have interns that come here and work as part of earning college credit, like from Pikes Peak State College. But we even had someone here last year from the Royal Academy of Veterinary Sciences in the UK who needed, she's dual citizenship, United States and UK, and she's going to vet school there. But while she was here, she needed to get a certain number of animal behavior handling hours. So she came and spent 70 hours out here handling the snakes and the other animals. And whenever we do that, if people are amenable to it, we'll take photographs, we'll take videos, and we'll put those up on our channel, or we'll share those on social media. So we do a lot of education, but we don't take the animals off site.
Yeah, so mine's similar to Laurie. In the UK, you need a license to do that as well. I don't know if it's the same with you guys, but you need to apply for license to go and educate in schools, birthday parties, stuff like that. But what I do is I make sure I have all the files that I need. So when people come to me and they want to learn about a certain species, they've got all the files they need, the certain checklist and requirements that they have to meet. And then obviously they come down to meet me myself, and that's where they can ask questions, handle the animals, and we can go through that kind of education process. And then from there, they go back and then complete the enclosure build. So usually it takes a long time for the adoption to come through. And in that time, that's where I like to educate. And because I can't go out and do it in person, I like people to come to me, and I do run a school community. So that's more online now. So that's where basically I've got all learning documents, resources, videos, and links to helpful resources for people to learn. So that's the way I kind of do it at the moment.
Do you guys have restrictions on the types or sizes of animals? I mean, that you can take in in the US anyway, there are limitations and regulations and laws per state in some cases where like certain animals are banned, et cetera. And I understand that, but like personally for your organization, do you have like, we don't take snakes over this size, or we don't take tortoises or something like that?
100%. Yeah, definitely for me, obviously being from home, there's certain things I can't have. For example, like a 15-foot snake. So like the biggest enclosure I've got, one is 10 foot. So maybe like a big boa I could probably house, but anything bigger than that's going to be tough. Same with like monitor lizards, Asian water monitors, Nile monitors. You see them in pet shops like this big, and then obviously they get like that, and then there's nowhere for them. So it is difficult. Luckily, I've got connections with like bigger rescues who have facilities. So a lot of the time I work with them as well. So obviously UK is quite small, so it's quite everyone gets on and works well together. So that's where we're at with ours.
Yeah. Mandy, when you answer this question, if you could follow it with what you do if you have to turn away a rescue.
Yeah, so unfortunately, our restrictions are usually slider turtles, specifically red-eared sliders and yellow belly sliders, and now sulcata tortoises. The reason why we don't accept them anymore is because we get about 13 calls a day regarding red-eared slider turtles, or a slider variant or hybridized version of a slider turtle. Their care, they really deserve to be in a pond. There is not anywhere you can go in the world other than Antarctica, or maybe a cooler climate where you can't find one in the wild from being released into the wild. And not to be gruesome, but this is just the fact now. You could probably solve world hunger with red-eared sliders. That's how invasive and just crazy the population has been as a result of them. It's horrific, the amount of them that we have taken in prior with ammonia burns and with sepsis. It's horrendous. A lot of these guys are kept in bathtubs. They're not kept with a proper basking spot. Most of the female turtles that we do get in are like riddled with follicular stasis. So it's like, it's really difficult to like constantly get in turtles where we know the end result is euthanasia. One of the hard realities of rescue, and I think this is one where we kind of get kind of hammered on a lot of the time, is that like there are going to be animals where you have to say no, and there are times where you're going to have to recommend that, like for example in the state of Connecticut or most states, it's illegal to release an animal into the wild, especially a red-eared slider. It's really frowned upon. You shouldn't be doing it. It affects its native species. It introduces bacteria into the wild that could affect the species around it. So it's recommended. Usually what we'll do is that we'll give a list of resources where they could drop off the turtle, recommending that, just keep in mind that it's a really hard species to place. A lot of people are overwhelmed by the amount of red-eared sliders, because they are a hard turtle to place, and that we do recommend going to their veterinarian for humane euthanasia as a result, needing to get rid of the turtle. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, I think a lot of people think euthanasia is a very terrible reality for a lot of these animals, but I'd rather take humane euthanasia over years of improper husbandry and suffering, or release to an environment where they're going to out survive almost every other animal that's native to an area where they're not from. And a lot of people will probably be against that. It's just kind of like a really hard reality of the mistakes of like the animal industry in general.
Yeah.
It's such a weird place to be. It's like being in a rock and a hard place. I don't know truthfully what is the right answer for a lot of people who come to us with the amount of people who surrender these animals. It gets overwhelming, I would say.
Yeah.
With the
Just to
sulcata
touch on that.
tortoises.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Quickly, I was just going to
No,
say, do
don't
you
be
have
sorry, just be happy.
I have a lot. When people submit animals knowing they're ill, like they know they're sick, but they won't take them to the vets. I think that's one of the worst problems as well. Because you can't say no. I take them all in, even if, try not to get into arguments with people, but people surrender them knowing they're ill. And I think that's, like you said, a lot of the time it's too far gone with a lot of the problems.
Yeah. Or we get like animals in, and a lot of the time we know that the end result is going to be euthanasia. Like, for
100%.
example, we'll get in a bearded dragon with like, say, like a gallstone that is massive, like should have been a youth case a while ago, but this animal is just suffering.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not supposed to be here.
Mm.
And we'll recommend that they euthanize the animal. But unfortunately, it comes out of our rescue fund to make the step to euthanize the animal once the animal is in our care,
Mhm.
to do it. And it just sucks having to be like the person who plays God for this animal and just says like, okay, it's okay, baby. Like, we will bring you to the vet. We'll take you there. We'll send you to Rainbow Bridge, and we're gonna make it really easy for you going forward when this animal is just like, it's a reptile. It can live through anything.
I know.
I'm gonna get really emotional. I know through this whole thing.
Yeah.
I had one exactly the same. Like, I had a Savannah monitor a couple of weeks ago, and it had no UVB. It had a house light. It wasn't had any heat or nothing. It was just left probably for months and months and months. Unfortunately, we had to put it down. But it just shows you, like, people. There should be something where before you get an animal, not that like you have to prove yourself, but there has to be a bit more due diligence, I think, because especially with breeders, if they just go into the hands of anybody, and this is what happens, and they live that long, like you guys, you probably got some 10, 20 years old, and it's just such a shame.
We're having like a little bit of an issue in the States between like breeders and rescues, like arguing with each other a lot, or like breeders and rescuers not working together, which I I refuse to believe that there's like this really black and white between breeders and rescues. I think there could be a gray, but I don't think that. I think people are so stuck in their ways that it's hard for people to think that there could be a gray.
I do really want to talk about this in particular, but I also want to stick to and make sure everybody gets
Oh yeah,
to
sorry, go on.
talk about
Yeah.
the restrictions and limitations and what to do if we turn them away. So we'll hold on that thought because we're going to get to
Yeah,
it.
please. Yeah. No, yeah,
And
please keep
Kayla,
going.
do you have restrictions, limitations? I mean, obviously it's you're working
Yes.
in your house. You have to make, how do you make those calls and what do you do if you have to turn somebody away?
It's really hard for me personally. I truly hate saying no. Of course, it's a part of rescue and you have to be able to because you can't let an animal suffer in your care because you don't have proper space or resources. But it is really hard to say no. Just like Mandy, we don't take in sliders just because there's so many of them. There's thousands. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like she said, you can go to any pond and there's just a bunch of them that were released and reproduced. They have so many babies, they will keep reproducing. It's such an issue. We also just don't take in any fully aquatic species because we're not equipped to handle like aquariums or like water filters or heaters. I don't know how any of that stuff works, and I don't want to put an animal in an environment where it's not proper. So I just stick with the land guys and as well as frogs. They're a bit easier. So we don't take in sulcata tortoises anymore because there's so many of them. And we don't take in any snakes over 8 feet because our largest enclosure is an 8 by 4 by 4. So we don't have anything larger than that. We do have a large shed that we take in. We take in like iguanas, monitor lizards. So we do take in large lizards still. We took in a fully grown adult male black dragon yesterday. He's in a 10 foot by 8 foot by 6 foot shed, fully temp controlled and everything. He has a big pool. He's with a foster that's more equipped with the water filters and everything, thankfully. So she built this awesome pool for him, and it's like set to 76 degrees. He's sitting in there all warm and cush, but we can't take in a lot of big animals. It's usually one at a time because we don't have space for a bunch of sheds. But yeah, of course, there has to be restrictions. We can't just take in a 16-foot snake and put it in something not 16 foot long. So,
Yeah.
We don't have restrictions in our bylaws, but we take in animals on a case by case basis. So there's a pretty extensive application process, and we investigate the situation, and then our board of directors votes on whether an animal gets admitted or not. And so if it's an animal that doesn't meet our standard, what we're able to accommodate in a standard manner, or something that we don't have a lot of expertise in, but we have someone that we know we could move that along to, as in another rescue or a private individual, and we can work that out ahead of time, then we'll agree to take that animal. So as far as the snakes, for example, we try not to take anything that's over 8 feet long. There are other rescues out there that specifically work with giant constrictors and large snakes. So the reason that I have that standard is we keep so many here that in order for me to accommodate a snake larger than that, it's taking away space from the other snakes. So we do have enclosures up to 10 feet long, and I can accommodate different size snakes. But if I do that, it means that we don't have space for the smaller snakes. So I try to keep the snakes to under 8 feet. I think our largest right now is 7.5 feet. We have a couple that are about 7.5 feet. So that's just my parameters, but I'm not saying that if there's a single case that we could accommodate or move on to another rescue and keep here short term, that we wouldn't try to help. And that's what we did last year we had an African gray parrot that we took in. We've just become so specialized really with horses and snakes right now that we're trying to limit the other species that we take in. We've had so many different species over the years, but with limited staff, we really have to kind of hone it down to what we can focus on. So the Gabriel Foundation is here in Colorado, and we made arrangements with our exotic vet to contact the Gabriel Foundation. And so we did take in the African gray parrot, but it was only here maybe a week, and then we moved it on to that rescue, which specializes in that species. And so while we don't turn anything specific away, we may not approve admittance for one if we can't accommodate it here, or if we know that we don't have some place to move it along to within a short period of time.
before we get on to what your protocols look like for both taking in and rehoming, I just kind of had this thought while you guys were talking about how important it would seem to be to have rescue networks who are like all of you being connected somehow. I know that, I've done a fair amount of scouring the internet for rescues across the country and even in Canada, and making my own lists and checking off, like, if I've been in contact with them, trying to get a sense of where they are, who they are, what they take in, and all that. But if there was a hub where you guys all had some kind of connection, and I'm sure in the UK as well, if there was a UK hub where, okay, I can't take this, but I know this, and this one, that they only take these, or they take these, or, how important that could be, how valuable that could be. And I'm just wondering what that would look like.
Yeah.
I mean, PAPFA here in Colorado maintains a list of all the licensed rescues and shelters in the state of Colorado, but I don't personally know all of those people. So really, it just comes down to making those personal connections, or making those connections through your veterinarian or through other people.
Yeah, I know veterinarians definitely. They've given me lists of other specialized vets and stuff, but maybe they also have rescue lists. I'm just thinking
that our veterinarian does work with a lot of rescues. She works with our rescue. She is the vet for the Gabriel Foundation. She works with 2 or 3 ferret rescues. So she knows a lot of rescues, and that's helpful to us, because then if we get one of those other species in, I can contact her and say, like the guinea pig, like we took in this guinea pig, and it's still here right now, but she did give me a contact for a rescue in northern Colorado that all they do is guinea pigs. And so that's really helpful, but not everybody has sort of a centralized person to go to that's going to have all that knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely something. I'm building a website for Snake Therapy. It's going to take a while, but now I'm thinking I need to have a page of all the rescue organizations I can find and kind of connect with.
Definitely.
That would be awesome.
To have that just a page.
House of Pancakes and I have already started a kind of just in the US and the UK and some in Canada, like just rescues and exotic vets.
Yeah, I know Reptiles has a pretty comprehensive list, but every list that I've seen that is comprehensive, all the rescues, is not.
Right.
I
do before you had asked about what we do if we have to say no to an animal. And we do have a rehoming assistance program. So if we can't physically take in an animal here, we ask if the people would be open to rehoming assistance, and we have protocols for that. And it's where they keep the animal until we can help them place it in a home. Or we do refer them out to one of the other rescues that we know of.
Okay.
I find that works well. I like to give people a waiting list sometimes of when I can help them. Most people, if it's a pet that's a change of circumstance, they're happy to wait another month or two, to trust that they're going to rehome. So I think that's definitely a good thing as well.
We do that as well. It helps a ton.
Yeah.
Okay. So for protocols for intake, there's, wait. And, how do people surrender? Do they have to fill out a form? Do they, what does the process look like for you? Mandy, you want to start?
People fill out a form, and once it goes through our surrender coordinator, if it's flagged as a medical case, we call them. We have them like video time us. A lot of the time, people don't really explain well enough, like the exact medical condition of the animal. And a lot of the time we want to see the animal like face to face to get a better understanding of what we're getting into, because we have a specific quarantine protocol that we usually go through when we are accepting animals in, and we want to be fully prepared for whatever medical case an animal is going to be like experiencing. So like if we're getting a bearded dragon and we're not sure like if it's adenovirus or whatever, it could be asymptomatic or whatever, We just want to make sure that like it is presenting as the person has represented on the surrender form as clearly as possible. So usually we'll for like a video call with that person and with the animal. Sometimes we'll ask for pictures in more depth of the animal. We'll ask for previous vet records to be sent to our vet, just so we have a clear understanding of what work has been done. But most of the time, the animal's never even seen a vet. So that's kind of how it works usually. And then once a foster has availability and space and has a clean room that's available, we remind the foster, remember, these are the quarantine protocols. Again, not allowing the animal to on the couch, do anything, go anywhere where other animals could be going. And we set up a coordination to pick up the animal and go from there.
We also have a form. I feel like it's a lot more organized that way to get all the information about the animal in the form. We have their current age, the species, whatever the owner named them, how long they've had them, where they originally purchased them from, if they have any vet records. We have them, do like a screenshot of the invoice that says whatever was done, as well as their name at the top and everything. That's a good idea to have them send them directly to the vet. I never thought of doing that before. But we have them upload that. Usually, like Mandy said, they usually don't take them to the vet. That's a very rare thing for the owners to actually do. So usually there's not that. If there's any medical issues, we do ask for, not any old videos. We ask them to take a brand new video of all the angles, get a good video. If they're, actively twitching or they have like a bone issue, we want them to get a clear video as possible. And we do prioritize medical cases. So if we have 2 applications come in at the same time and one of them is a healthy animal and one of them is one that, is on death's door and needs veterinary care, we will accept the sicker of the 2 if we have the space. We prioritize the medicals. I believe that's it for our form. The first thing we do when we get them is weigh them and write it down, and that's about it.
And do you also have a vet that you kind of primarily work with?
Oh, yes. We have 2 because one of them is closed on the weekends, so the other one is one we go to on weekends in case. And then we also have an emergency vet just in case.
Okay. Lori, I think you said some of this already, but if not, cover
well, there's kind of 2 routes that we intake animals. One, if it's exigent circumstances like a law enforcement seizure or a death. We've had some people die and their family members have said, my family member died and they had this snake, or they had this, that's how we got the leopard gecko. And we don't make those family members jump through the hoops of trying to get that animal admitted into our Sanctuary for Life program, which is a different process. We up front tell that person that we can take the animal, or tell law enforcement we can take in the animals, with the knowledge that they may not stay here for life, that they may not go into our Sanctuary for Life program. They may be moved on through adoption or transferred to another organization. Then our Sanctuary for Life program is very extensive, because those animals we take in and agree to care for life. And those are normally special needs animals. So they may have a special medical or behavioral issue or some type of physical impairment. And that's a pretty extensive, I think it's a 6 or 7 page application. We review that. We make phone contact with the individual, or Zoom contact, internet contact. And then we make an appointment to do a home visit to meet the animal and investigate the situation to make sure that the person is being upfront with us. And we ask them to sign or have their vet send us any records, or their behaviorist send us any records. And so once one of our staff's done a full investigation, then we turn over that packet to our board of directors and they vote on whether that animal gets admitted or not.
Okay.
Yeah, so mine's, obviously I'm a lot smaller, but mine's very similar to Mandy and Kayla. Obviously forms, I'm really big on videos of their current setup. So for example, bearded dragons, you can spot just by the UVB lighting if they're going to have metabolic bone disease or it's going that way. So I'm very big on that. And obviously just literally speaking to people on the phone, I always like to offer a call, even if it's 5 minutes, just so I can vet them out a little bit more. But like you said, like most of the time, people haven't took them to the vets. So a lot of cases that come in, they need that kind of checking in the mouth, feeling for lumps and bumps, because there's a lot of underlying issues. So very similar kind of surrender process in terms of forms, photos, videos, and obviously initial chat. And I like to invite people down. I don't really do many pickups at the moment just because of my work so busy. Obviously, emergencies I will, but by people coming down, I get to know them a little bit more and find a bit more information out that way.
And you have a vet that you work with?
Yeah, we've got a vet. So there's quite a few around by me. So I've got one which is in person, and I've also got one that I can literally pick up the phone to, if it's a quicker scenario that I need to speak to somebody about, which is good.
Okay.
I also should add real quick that we do sometimes take in transfers from other organizations like a traditional animal shelter or a rescue if an animal has been deemed unadoptable by them. Usually it's because they have special needs, and that's what we specialize in. And so then they will arrange to transfer the animal here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for our form, one of the biggest things recently, this has been probably the past two years, not the full time we've been doing this. But there's been a notable rise in cryptosporidium cases becoming positive. We've taken in last year, I think we had 11 intakes that tested positive. Of course, we throw everything away and they're all in brand new cages, and it's ridiculous. But now in our forms, one of the most important question, it's like highlighted with a bunch of exclamation points and highlighted, and it says like, weird question, but what is their poop like? Is it solid? Is it watery? What is it like? Because that in a lot of cases will determine like, okay, if this is a leopard gecko and he's 6 years old and he has watery poop, like we're not gonna take that in. It's really stressful. Crypto's been on everyone's high alerts right now, especially with the whole snakeful grace thing that happened. And
yeah, I mean, in case anyone who's watching doesn't understand how devastating crypto can be, it can spread so fast to all the other reptiles in the place and absolutely wipe out the entire population. It's really, really dangerous. And there are tests for it. And usually you have to do several in order to be sure that you've gotten a true, positive or negative. Unfortunately, you can't always just rely on the first one. So it is very, very scary. And
that's why proper quarantine is so important for rescues, though.
Yeah. I imagine you guys have to have serious protocols for quarantine. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but how do you interact with people when you see them bringing in an animal that is just horrifically neglected? I've seen photos from many of you and more of just awful situations where where you can't imagine a person doesn't see that this isn't okay. And, I understand that if you're trying to save the animal's life, the most important thing is probably just get the animal safe, but do you have conversations with those people, or do you just don't even bother?
Anyone want to go first, or shall I?
Jordan, go for it.
I've had at the start, I did get dragged into a few wars. I'm going to be honest, but I think sometimes it can obviously negatively impact your rescue. I had people try and leave bad reviews and stuff like that just because I was like fighting for welfare, if that makes sense. So sometimes now, I'll say to them, listen, I'm going to be honest. There's going to be some medical issues here. There's clearly some signs. You're going to need an immediate vet visit. And I asked them if they'd like to make a contribution towards that. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. And that's all I can do, really. Sometimes people are they bought it from a shop. They've been told the wrong advice. The husbandry's just not been researched properly, and certain things happen. But, in this day and age, you should really take a bit more care. But it is what it is. And sometimes you can't change what's already been done.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't run into that. We don't run into that a lot here because of our process and because we're taking in special needs animals. And if people are jumping through our hoops to get their animal in the Sanctuary for Life program, they're usually taking really good care of it.
Yeah.
The other side of what we do, which is taking in maybe from law enforcement seizures, which we did last year, took in a massive snake seizure of criminally neglected snakes. We don't have direct contact with the perpetrator. So that is up to the police, the the state, the city attorney, the Commonwealth, wherever they happen to be, to manage that person. We're typically not in direct contact with them. And traditional rescues sometimes are in direct contact with people, but those rescue people are talking to them, and then the animal gets transferred to us. So thankfully, we don't have to deal with that very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not a good idea. The more I think about it, the more it's just like, just get the animal and
Yeah. It's just difficult because you never know what kind of person they're gonna be. I'm in Orange County, California. I'm an hour away from Los Angeles. I had to go, I'm not even kidding, I was in Compton to pick up a baby bearded dragon who had his arm bitten off by a veiled chameleon that he was housed with. And I was like, I was all talk the whole car. I'm like, I'm gonna tell this guy like how horrible. This was like my third rescue. I was like 15. I was with my dad, and we got there, and this guy's car is just covered in bullet holes. And I'm like, I can't even say anything if I want to. It's like,
Yeah, you got to pick your battles, haven't you?
Yeah.
pick your battles. Yeah.
And some people also,
Yeah.
if you try to educate them, they take it as shame. And if you shame someone for surrendering an animal, they will next time let the animal die instead of trying to find a sanctuary for it. So it's
Yeah.
hard. It's really hard. You can try to be kind and tell them like, look, in the future, if you ever get another animal again, like please make sure you do proper research or reach out to us and we'll educate you. But this animal's going to need veterinary care, and you just got to hope that they don't take it the wrong way and leave you a 1-star review.
Yeah.
I think that is the key right there, is saying, hey, if you ever need, if you ever plan on getting an animal again, hit us up beforehand. We're happy to help you, give you some resources on how to manage that animal, and then just leave it at that.
Yeah, literally.
There's even been a few times where I was concerned for the person's well-being, let alone the animal.
Yeah.
Like, we have a really popular ambassador, Noodle, our BCI. He came to us. We had 2 fosters go pick him up. This gentleman called. He must have been under the influence of something. I don't know. But he pretty much just said, if you don't come pick up this week, I'm going to just dump it. And we immediately were like, okay, we have 2 fosters on the way to come meet you. Whatever. I called the 2 fosters and I said, just please let me know when you get there safely. I'm going to be here, like back you guys up, whatever. He agreed to meet at a PetSmart, whatever. The fosters got there. They said that there was a little girl in the car, and that he reeked of like cigarette smoke, and that the pillowcase that he gave Noodle in with them reeked of cigarette smoke and was like discolored everywhere, and that he was stumbling. He couldn't keep his like stature correct and was like skidding as he was exiting the drive, the parking area. And when we got Noodle, this was a BCI whose face had been eaten by a lot during feeding time, and his vertebrae was exposed at the tail. So he was not in a sanitary condition when we got him. The snake was obviously in a lot of pain and was tackling an upper respiratory infection at the time. But this gentleman was also not okay. Like, he couldn't tell me the name of the snake, the snake. He couldn't tell me what exactly happened. He couldn't tell me how many days this rat was in with the snake when he went to go feed him. He couldn't keep straight with his sentences. It was like he was not fully there. So we get situations like that a lot where I'm like, should I call a different person? Like, should I call legal services? I'm not equipped to deal with this, which almost gets me scared, putting my fosters in a situation where I'm like, do I have to call a police officer to kind of make sure that nothing happens to them? This is kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Let
so
alone,
cool.
we know we need to go pick up the snake.
Well, I just want to say I'm so glad that Noodle's doing so much better. I donated a little bit to help Noodle
thank
out,
you.
and I've been following that story. Let's move on to what your protocols are for rehoming. Let's find a good, loving, forever home for this animal. How do you do that? How do you make sure that that person is going to be the forever home person?
So everybody has to have filled out an adoption form. We don't just rehome to anybody. General knowledge of the species that they're going to adopt. We do not adopt to anybody who doesn't have an exotic vet already or established, doesn't know what species they're like adopting. Like we have specific questions that are like, who's the animal you're interested in? What kind of like lights are you going to get? Is it the 100 watt, 75 watt? Like we specifically ask the brand, the wattage, the types, like how often are you going to replace them? Do you have a vehicle? Do you have stable income? How much would you spend at the vet? Which we give a range and then anything it takes pretty much. We have like, are you prepared for the life expectancy of this animal? If it's a tortoise, we have like a question that says like, if tortoise, do you have an outdoor and an indoor enclosure, like stuff like that. We want to make sure that these people are fully equipped, that they understand what they're getting into. We don't charge a high adoption fee for the animal. We charge just a little bit above what they would pay at like a Petco or a PetSmart for the animal, because we want them to put that money into the husbandry and the enrichment that these animals are going into. By the time that they do get the animal from us, we want to make sure that the animal is fully equipped in a bioactive enclosure or an equivalent enclosure that will give them the enrichment that they're looking for. So we really want to make sure that like if we're going to go forward with this adoption, can we send the vet records from our vet to your vet? We have to have that established. That's how I know that they have an exotic vet that's ready to go.
Yeah.
I want them to come meet the animal. If they have kids, let them know that like, is this a good match for you guys? Is your kid going to respect this animal? Usually they all do. They're usually very excited. We've been really lucky with a lot of the families that have come to us where the kids are so excited. They spend time at the library researching these animals for hours with their mom and dad, and it's just really wholesome, really precious. And a lot of the times too, we have like, a question of like, do you know the common signs of illness in these
Mhm.
animals? Just because like, reptiles are kind of ninjas with their illness. They hide it really, really well. They're animals of prey. So they have to hide it in order to survive in the wild. And even though they're captive kept, it doesn't mean that they're fully domesticated yet. So
Yeah.
we want to make sure that people are fully equipped.
Yeah. Kayla, is there anything different than Mandy that you have for that?
It's pretty similar. Just the main thing, our main thing is it has to be proper sized enclosure, and it has to be either really naturalistic with proper enrichment, or it has to be bioactive. Just depends, because there's been a lot of beautiful naturalistic enclosures that aren't quite considered bioactive, but they are mentally enriching, and they have lots of logs and fake plants and stuff. And
Not all of mine are bioactive. Bioactive and naturalistic, it doesn't have to be bioactive in order for it to be,
yeah,
enriching
exactly.
for the
They
animal.
kind of go hand in hand as long as it's set up properly. Great.
Yeah.
Proper lighting is so important. A lot of the time, for applications, we will prioritize whoever has the largest enclosure or the best enclosure, essentially. And as long as everything else meets as well, like, they have a proper vet and everything. But we'll typically take, if someone applies for the same snake at the same time, someone applies with a 4x2x2 and someone applies with a 6x2x2, we're going to entertain the 6x2x2 more. Just entertain their questions and everything first.
Laura, do you have different protocols or?
Just some additional thing. I mean, we have all those same protocols. People have to, well, first of all, for the sanctuary side of it, we don't do adoptions. So that's not an issue. But for the animals that come in under those exigent circumstances or through law enforcement or the rehoming assistance program, we do have an application. We have an adoptions team that makes contact with people, goes over their husbandry with them and their care and all of the questions on the application. And then they still have to fill out a contract. And then they either have to in person pick up the animal, or we personally have someone meet them somewhere or deliver it, even if it's out of state, because then that's our last chance to meet that person face to face. And even at that last minute, if our volunteer or our staff gets a bad vibe about the person, I mean, we don't have to hand it over. So we have kind of all these steps in place before we actually let that animal go.
Yeah, mine's pretty much identical. Obviously, I'm in person as well, so people have to come down to meet me. But also, I've found over the past kind of few months, a lot of people take photos off Google and try and use that as like a proof of self. So I like to get people to do like video submission, so they'll walk through the enclosure, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I know it's not Google reversed or whatever it's called, because you can check.
Yeah, we do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's mad that
You
people
wouldn't
do it.
believe how many people we caught with that too.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You would think that they would know better by now, but no.
Nope.
It's good though when you bust them. When you bust them, it's good.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. That makes me so mad. All right, we're going to go in reverse order with this one. What are your top 3 that you think are the most common reasons you think reptiles end up needing to be rescued from keepers? And we're talking about keepers like beginners, hobbyists, not breeders, which we'll get into later. And there's no wrong answer here. I mean, there's millions of reasons, right? And I definitely want to talk about some of them, like, how many of them are because the people moved or the landlords don't allow them to have them, or personal hoarding situations, or kids who left for college, or all of those things. But for you, Jordan, and I'm very curious about this since, it's the UK and it's different from the US. What do you see as the top 3 most common reasons?
Yeah, I'd say number 1 is they get them young from babies from shops, and especially like boa constrictors and stuff like that, they just get too big. So the common theme is I can't offer a long-term, enclosure. So that's probably one of them. The second one is they'll get for kids, and then the kids then go off to university and they're just no longer interested. So the parents are kind of left with the animal, and they haven't got that same kind of love and passion. So they feel like it needs to go to a good home. The third one, I'd say, we do in the UK, we get a lot of emergencies. I mean, obviously we're a lot smaller, so a lot of people are more connected, but emergency situations are quite severe here. You get them all the time. So obviously a lot of rescues, we always keep, an enclosure or 2 open in case of an emergency drop off. I've had animals left at my door. It does happen quite a lot. So I'd say those are in the correct order, I'd say.
For the sanctuary side of things, there's going to be a medical or behavioral reason. There's got to be some kind of special need why the person legitimately needs to relinquish that animal, and why they legitimately are in a position where they can't manage that special need. And then on the other side, if we're working with another rescue organization or law enforcement or some exigent circumstances, the circumstances need to be exigent. So we don't typically take animals off the street from people that are moving or having a baby, or all of these reasons that I think are totally not legitimate reasons for rehoming an animal. So we are taking in special needs animals, or those from exigent circumstances, like the hoarding situation was a law enforcement circumstance last year. So we took in those snakes and that parrot all at once because those circumstances were an immediate exigent need and law enforcement was involved.
I think the main number 1 reason for us would be because they were gifted it as a kid. It's almost always children, where the children convince their parents, like they're at Petco and they're like, oh, look this gecko's on sale for $19.99. We don't need any sort of licensing or permit or any sort of restriction whatsoever. You can just walk into a Petco, buy it, $20 bill, easy. So I think the number 1 reason is because little kids convince their parents. The parents don't realize what goes into it, and the animal gets sick. It's always because, our animal gets sick and we don't know what to do with it now. We don't know how to manage this illness. They won't take it to the vet, of course. So they just kind of want someone else to clean up their mess, clean up after their improper husbandry, their lack of education, their lack of research.
And that's not even about the lack of funds necessarily for
No,
veterinary care.
exactly.
It's often because people don't understand that you can take them to the vet. You should take them to the
Yeah,
vet, or what vet to take them to.
exactly.
Um,
It's just frustrating though. That's the number one reason, because people don't want to deal with their illness. They're like, "Oh, it's sick and we don't know what to do." The second most common reason I'd say is because someone's moving or going to college, going out of state. They don't have the space to make it work, or they don't want to bring the animal on the road trip, or it's too stressful to bring them on an 8-hour road trip, but it's not too stressful to give them a new home. Doesn't make sense to me.
I drove
Um,
across the country with my boa
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Sometimes you got to make it work. And then I'd say the third is because the animal got too large, or it's old and it's not, fun and active anymore. I see that a lot with bearded dragons. Is I don't know why people expect them to be like these crazy, like they're not always super active, especially when they're not given proper UVB and lighting growing up. You'll get kind of a lazy guy, and especially when they get older and people are like, he doesn't do anything. My kid's bored of him. It's like, I don't know why people have to see animals as, like a source of entertainment as opposed to a part of the family. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are the three for us.
I would say the first one has actually been a little more wholesome for us. Um, It's that we have a really good exotic vet in the state of Connecticut. Shout out for Kensington Bird and Animal Hospital. But a lot of them are actually really well spoiled, rotten reptile or just sick. And for some reason, the exotic vet they were going to in the state of Connecticut hasn't been able to diagnose these animals correctly because it's hard to come across a great exotic vet. And they saw our stories online and they're like, can you please help my animal? I will do anything to make sure that they're okay, even if that means not placing them back with me in the end. Which we've had a lot of surrenders go that way,
Hmm.
where they end up going to our vet in the end anyway, and
Huh.
we adopt back to them because it's like you cared this much of your animal. It's like that's unfair. Like just we'll show you the ropes and the reins. Like you proved that you were worthy enough to have this animal. It's fine. The second I would say is just like the common theme of kids,
Mhm.
the instant gratification, the want of an animal of this life, being responsible for it, not understanding what that actually entails, and not really thinking that part out. And the kids move to university, they don't understand like what that means, what that looks like. And then the third one, unfortunately, has been a lot of eviction cases that we get called from our local police officers where somebody was told that they are no longer allowed to stay in an apartment. They have 30 days to move out. And they move out during that time, but they leave behind a leopard gecko, a python, and one is already dead, but the other one's alive that was coped with it. Hopefully, we have room to come pick it up. And most likely, we don't have a choice because we're going to go pick up that animal anyway. And then screw our fosters over and the people who did the process the right way to surrender an animal because we got to push all that stuff back because now we got an emergency case.
I will add real quick. I mean, all of those reasons that you guys mentioned are reasons that we will put someone in our rehoming assistance program. But I will say we've also run into a medical issue with the owner where the owner has a medical issue or change in life circumstances where they're unable to care for the animal. And the other thing is just a massive financial change where something massive has happened, not through any fault of their own, and they need to put their animal in our rehoming assistance program. So medical and financial changes for the owner of the animal are also reasons that we see.
Yeah, we get
Right,
that
right.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that
have
makes
done
sense.
a bad case scenario for a slider turtle before, where we did have somebody who was getting major back surgery who just could not take care of the slider turtle anymore. Where we were like, yeah, we will find somebody in our Shalonian community to try to help you out here because it's like that is just an unfortunate circumstance where like you can't plan for your back to break like
Yeah.
and unfortunately you want to get that person the help that they need. It's just really unfortunate, but it is a seesaw game.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned, Mandy, the veterinary situation. We've had 2 snakes sent here from out of state to be cared for by our vet, have surgery at our veterinarian, and then we've kept them during the recovery, and then they go back to their original owner. So we have a lot of special services like that because our organization is so special needs inclined that we do help people in other
Yeah.
ways besides taking in the animal permanently or rehoming it.
That's amazing.
Well, we get so many hypo A cases with leopard geckos where, like,
Oh yeah.
sometimes with the male ones specifically, where the hemipenal bulges just like end up erupting, and the people get so like freaked out. But I think the main thing is that people don't realize how resilient a lot of and they can make it through, but you have to be really attentive to them during that time when they're healing. So a lot of the things that we will do is, as long as they're willing to pay and help, we're willing to board and give our time and energy to that animal. So we will do that exchange for them. That is not a problem. That's like a happy story in our eyes.
Yeah.
A lot of people are unwilling usually.
We have one like that right now.
You do?
Poor little
Yeah.
guy.
To segue into the next section, what I gleaned from the answers that you guys just gave me really comes down to the lack of education by sellers and of adults in the situation of buying reptiles. You know, yes, you want to give your kid this living being and give them a responsibility. You know, I think a lot of times, you know, parents are like, oh, this will be great. You have to take care of it. Are you promised to take care of it? Good. And it's like,
Yep.
that doesn't mean you're off the hook for making sure that actually happens, and them not understanding them not understanding what it takes, how long the animals live, how big they get. And on the flip side, the people who are selling these animals, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, is that in my mind, it is the responsibility of people who are selling animals to not just sell them and not say anything more. You don't get to hand off a living being without making sure that the people understand how these animals thrive, what their lifespan is, and how big they expect to get. I mean, these are just basic things that in turn cause so many surrenders. So, I mean, to me, that seems like those are some of the top core issues in herpetoculture and in the industry of herpetoculture that contribute most to reptiles being surrendered. But I'm curious, you know, what else in the kind of hobby and the industry goes to a lot of surrenders? How does it contribute, like the overproduction of certain types of species, you know, like ball pythons, leopard geckos, the just massive amounts of these animals that are being produced? Do you see, you know, that as being a huge contributing factor? Do you have more of those, of certain types of animals?
100%.
The 2 things that I see as the biggest issues are, number one, impulse buying and people being reactive about the ownership. So in other words, they impulse buy or get the animal because it seems like a good idea at the time, and then everything they're doing from there is just reactive, sort of like reactive versus proactive policing. So there's a lack of proactive stuff going on before the animal is in the home. And a lot of why I see people wanting to rehome animals is a huge incongruence between the person's expectations and the species' natural history and natural biology. So they get the animal and they have certain expectations that they're putting on that animal, but the animal's just incapable of being what they want based on its natural behaviors, its natural history, its natural biology. So then there's a huge amount of dissatisfaction there on the part of the human, and they don't want the animal anymore.
Yeah.
So the second thing is there's a massive amount of overbreeding because people are selfish and they want to breed animals with no thought being put into what happens to the animal after the fact. So instead of getting a waiting list for people who want your animals and then not breeding the animals until that waiting list is so full you probably can't, provide an animal for each person on it, people are just breeding and worrying about where the animals go later. And that's a huge issue. And it absolutely needs to stop.
I completely agree.
What's that like in the UK, Jordan?
It's really bad at the moment. I'd say, Royal Python, the situation with Royal Pythons is terrible. Like, it's the most common animal I get in personally. And I'm a
Us
relatively
too.
small rescue. Corn snakes, they're such hardy animals that they can not get away with, but they can be kind of neglected for that long. And they don't have any health issues, if that makes sense. Like, they're such hardy species. Same with
Yeah.
them, they get surrendered all the time. But a lot of people have this hoarding situation in the UK, especially breeders, where they kind of like chase dopamine. So like they'll get a new animal every month.
Yeah.
As like it must be a mental health thing for them. I don't know. They're just chasing this kind of rush all the time, and that's how it gets out of control because there's no like boundaries that they've got in place. And like you said, they're not running it as a proper operation or with welfare led in terms of breeding. That's what I find anyway.
Do you see more morphs with genetic defects or more normal?
We've had a few.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's so bad. We're getting a lot of wobbles in.
The morphs are terrible. The morph, like,
Mm.
I can't begin to tell you how many citrus bearded dragons we get in
Oh my
where the
God.
liver is 40% of the
Yeah.
chest cavity,
Yep.
where these animals cannot, they're all follicular stasis. And follicular stasis, for those who don't know, who may be watching this video, is when the eggs cannot develop properly. So they start a cluster effect. And like literally these dragons cannot lay eggs, they get fluid around the heart, they start having a lifespan of, instead of living those 15 years that bearded dragons are expected to live, they start living up to 6 years old. They get septic arthritis early on in age. It's like, it is ridiculous. Like, I don't even know why we are breeding for the color anymore when these animals cannot even live a full life. Like, or we get the ball pythons now where like they just have the insane wobble.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
can't like even strike their food normally. Like you have to really like puppy dog feed them, or like these leopard geckos where like they can't even be under a UVB bulb normally,
Oh
or
yeah.
they just don't ingest vitamin A the same way as they would normally. It like makes no sense to me why we keep doing this to these animals over and over again. We're not breeding for the animal, we're breeding for what the people want.
Yeah.
And it ruins the quality of life of the animals that we're like giving these people. Like, and
It's
I don't think
playing
a lot of
God.
people understand it is playing God. And I don't think people understand too that when we breed animals with these defects, for example, like bearded dragons can regenerate their parts. So like when you spay a bearded dragon once, there's a possibility you can need to respay again. But with like animals who already have genetic defects that are already susceptible to illnesses, it gets really messy when an animal keeps needing reoccurring surgeries. And just like how it is for humans needing to go under anesthetic, it's just the same for an animal. And reptiles don't respond to anesthetic and medical procedures the same as mammals do. It
Yeah.
is different on their bodies, it metabolizes differently. So, like, it boggles me. I could go on about it forever.
Have you guys noticed the with the red monster bearded dragons, the cancer? Have you guys seen a lot of cancer? We've had every single one of our red bearded dragons has had some sort of cancer, tumor. It's ridiculous. It's all in the
Scale
genetics.
malformity.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Or some kind of throat cancer.
Hmm.
It's like, or we're
Wow.
getting a lot of citruses with some kind of eye trauma or eye deformity where the duct wasn't it like wasn't formed right. So we're going to a lot of specialists right now,
Oh
or it's like
no.
just something that's never going to be like ever fixed. And these guys are on medications for life. And it's kind of like the equivalent of having like a chronic illness.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like having a bearded dragon with adenovirus, where it's like
Mhm.
you are an autoimmune case for the rest of your life.
Yep.
And they will have to be the only dragon kept in a home
Oh, wow.
moving forward, or a hospice case until their whole body shuts down.
Yeah, it's awful.
Like,
Lori, with that surrender situation, you had 67 ball pythons.
No.
Well,
Were
it was 65 ball python, or no, six. So there was one corn snake, one sunbeam snake, and one carpet python, but all of the rest were royal pythons. Yeah.
Okay, so
oh my
goodness.
God.
of those royal pythons, were the majority morphs?
Yes.
Were they all morphs? Okay.
The majority
Right.
were. There were a few normals who were actually in the best condition. I think that the normal wild types of most species tend to be the hardiest.
Yeah.
Isn't
That's
that
why
weird?
I don't know why they're not sought out more, but whatever. Yes, we had 10 neuromorphs in that group, plus 2 more that were that had like a cleft palate and had issues because they were super cinnamon or super black pastel, and the person had deliberately done that, knowing that they might result in those issues. And one is doing okay, and the other one is no longer with us. So yeah, that situation was unacceptable for many reasons.
100%.
But yes, there were morphs that should never have even been produced in the first place. It's just ridiculous now that people breed deleterious genes knowingly. I mean, you know that if you breed spiders, you breed champagne, you breed in snakes, I'm talking about right now,
Yeah.
you breed jaguar and carpet pythons, that all of the offspring are going to have some neurological deficit in some way. Why are we even doing that in the first place? It's
Pure
unacceptable.
selfishness, just for the
Pure
pretty colors
selfishness.
and the pretty patterns. It's just pure selfishness of humans.
The one
It's a
carpet
recipe
python
for
that
disaster.
came
Yeah.
with the group was a jaguar carpet.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
I've got one in now, actually. At mine.
Really?
Yeah,
a
it's got
jag?
real bad stargazing, like a
Oh,
little bit of
poor
wobbles.
baby.
Yeah, she's in good condition. Other than that, like she's healthy, she eats well, but it does limit their next home because obviously they need that experience.
Of course. I'm so grateful our only carpets have been normal morph, thank God.
And you need to make sure that whoever you're rehoming to isn't going to breed those animals as well.
Exactly.
I'm sure that's
Yep.
an element.
That is like one of the biggest issues we have is we get a
Really?
lot of like people messaging us like so we have a Savannah monitor right now named Dodo. I did not give him his name, but he is a dodo. And one of the first messages we got after getting his word of mouth going out that we had him is a bunch of people asking us you know if we were planning on adopting him out because they wanted to breed him.
Mad,
And
isn't it? I get that all the time.
we
Do
made
you?
it very clear.
All the time,
Yeah, we made it very clear that no, he is not going to be adoptable. No, we don't adopt out to breeders. We've even had breeders reach out to us trying to rehome their whole collections to us. And we
Yes.
don't have the capacity to take 40 ball pythons
It's usually ball
or
pythons.
25 leopard geckos.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's either ball pythons or leopard geckos, two that are not selling at expos anymore, where you like walk into a reptile expo and the whole tables are just like royals and leopard geckos.
It's so
like,
bad.
oh my God, why are we even breeding these guys anymore? Like the top 3 that should not be bred anymore, period, are just like ball pythons, leopard geckos, and bearded dragons. Like, why are we
100%.
even doing those?
Mhm.
Like, just please stop. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to breed something, breed for conservation. Do box turtles. We could use some.
100%.
So, Jordan, you see more morphs than you do normals coming to the rescue?
I'm probably the opposite at the moment, or maybe lately I've just been noticing it. We get so many normals and wild types, and it's kind of like like a black cat situation in a cat sanctuary. Normally they're kind of left last, so when people come, they want like the fancy morphs and they're kind of last to go out. If that makes sense. So typically they stay the longest, but recently we've had a few go out, which is great. But They normally come in the rescue and stay the longest. And if you post a picture of a morph, you get a lot more messages. That's what you typically find.
Well, it's so bad right now. Even our beautiful morphs, and we have some really high-end surrenders. We have, an adult male frilled dragon. He's been searching for a home for over a year. It's because it's like we don't trust, a lot of people not to breed him, and the people
Yeah.
that have applied that, are trustworthy, their enclosures aren't large enough, or they don't have enough in there, or one person even had like a pretty nice setup that they were going to use for him, but their other enclosures for their other animals were so minimalistic. And I was like, you need to take care of your other animals before getting another one.
Yeah.
But it's bad. We have our leopard geckos. I think we only have 2 normal morph leopard geckos out of 11 geckos in our house right now. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be like that. With ball pythons, I guess we have more normal ball pythons right now than we do morphs. Or I guess it's even. We have 3 normals and 3 pretty morphs, but it's just ridiculous. It's bad when people aren't even adopting a frilled dragon.
I think the demographic of who's surrendering is going to depend on whether it's normals or morphs, because like this situation last year was from a breeder who was also a hoarder and criminally neglecting the animals. So of course it was full of morphs. But as far as the normal person who wants to surrender or be in our rehoming assistance program, it is a lot of times wild types or normals.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, because they're being, they're boring in comparison with the morphs. And also, I would assume that in the breeding process to get to these morphs, any normals are just kind of like, well, oops.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We weren't looking for that.
Yeah. And I think in shops as well, like obviously the normal patterns are a lot cheaper. So if someone's just going for a snake, they don't necessarily care about what morph they're getting. They kind of go for the cheapest option. Yeah. And that's what we find. Like a lot of people, like Laurie said, who surrender normal wild types are just people who just had a pet. Like they're not breeders. Very rare breeders.
We've even occasionally had people try to, surrender a normal morph animal, or try to even we've had people ask can we trade this in for a prettier? It's ridiculous. We've had people, I'm not even kidding. People are like, we have this normal ball python. This was our starter snake. Cause we were just getting into it and we didn't know if we wanted to spend enough money. So we want to trade it in for a prettier one. It's like, what? When did animals become objects and commodities instead of living beings? What do you mean trade it? Trade a living being? What? You wouldn't go to a dog shelter and say, can I trade my dog for this one? No, absolutely not.
We will only get morphs in as a result of the health issues that they have occur within them. That is usually only when we get a morph in. So for example, our very first intake when we became an official 501c3 was, I will never forget it. It was a citrus leatherback bearded dragon. His name was Rocket. He had both genitalia, both female and male. He was a disaster genetically, absolute disaster.
My gosh.
Septic arthritis, riddled with it. He was the first time I've ever seen a liver taking up more than 40% of the chest cavity. Oh my God, his autopsy was disgusting.
Oh my God.
Brown fluid inside the body, looked awful. Oh my God. Just tumors everywhere inside his body. Yeah. So when people give us non-morphed animals, I find that they end up doing a lot better in general when they find their forever homes. They end up feeling a lot better. They go through our vet's office in and out very easily. The morphs are usually the issue. It takes a lot for them to get healthy again. They don't do the same, but I have seen the trade issue a lot as well that Kayla was talking about. We just because we are a rescue, we're a part of a bunch of Facebook groups, and on the Connecticut free reptile group, we get a lot of people that are like, hey, looking for a free leopard gecko. Anybody got anything available? And it's this is so bad. It's like Pokemon, got to collect them all.
Literally.
Yeah.
The same over here. There's so many Facebook groups, you see them every day, I'm looking for a free home for X. It's difficult. people just jump at it as well, and you see the same names crop up
Yep.
in all the groups.
Yeah.
You know to look out for.
I gave up on those groups because when you try to list an animal, all you get is flippers and breeders. It's not the people that are looking for a loving new family member are not on those Facebook groups, unfortunately. It sucks, but it's the hard reality. It's like you'll get a very occasional, even then it's so risky. It's
Yeah.
like I don't trust those groups anymore.
The hardest thing
It's emotionally draining.
Oh yeah.
Sorry to cut you up. I was just saying, I don't know if you guys, I don't know if I'm going off topic, but we had a blue-tailed monitor surrendered once. And obviously they're quite sought after, they're quite expensive. And a lot of people just kind of like chase you for these animals.
yeah.
But how did you find, like, when you get the certain like rarer species in, how do you kind of, where do you look for in terms of, you know, them homes for those? Because I personally don't like just letting them go to like regular keepers, because you don't know if
It's
they're just
hard.
going to flip that animal, if that makes
It's
sense.
really hard. With Stanley, we've
We go
had
through our
him
vet.
listed on Instagram. We also, we have little flyers at our vet's office because it's good those people are going to the vet if they see you there.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think honestly, even listing them at more clinics, if they're exotic clinics and they're willing to have your flyers, that's not a bad
Yeah.
move. I personally only have them at one place, but it wouldn't be bad to, have some flyers up
Yeah.
at highly rated exotic clinics that see reptiles. It's hard.
It is hard.
Sorry, we had a tegu that came in. It was just a really unfortunate circumstance with the previous owner. And we weren't just going to rehome this fully grown adult, very capable of breeding male tegu to just anybody.
Absolutely.
Especially since he was like a very, sought after for the morph.
Yeah.
So we asked our vet if she knew anybody of her exotic, patients who came in, if they would be interested. And she knew several
Yeah.
people who would actually be a good candidate
Aw.
who may want a tegu. So now he fosters with us.
Oh, yay.
So we get to foster out of it too. And he's in like, oh my God, he's in like this 8 foot tall by 8 foot wide by like huge and like we could all go live in there right now with him. I don't think Chomper would like it, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind, like, if we took some blueberries from him.
Reptiles and amphibians are kind of undervalued. I think we kind of touched on that earlier. And I'm trying to shift this narrative myself in how I talk about snakes specifically in reptiles and how I talk about having, compassion, empathy, and relationships with them. And I think that, I'm just trying to figure out how do we continue to shift this narrative, because the fact that a lot of these animals are throwaway, it seems like, is a major problem. I mean, if you can go buy a leopard gecko for $20 and it has health problems, you don't take care of it well and it dies, you just get another one. Like these cycles, they just keep going. And I don't know, I guess I just wanted you guys to weigh in a little bit on like the narrative of this, for both shifting this narrative for both individuals and the industry. If you can just take like 5 minutes and weigh in on that. And I'm curious, Jordan, because I'm less familiar with how things are in the UK, if you want to start off with this one.
It's difficult. I mean, I'd say over the last, 5-10 years, obviously the information that's out there is 10 times better than it was. And I think there's a lot more studies on, individual animals, like, how clever they actually are and how intelligent they actually are. And I think when people adopt and inquire, or anybody who gets in contact with them, I try and put them in the right direction of actual resources, so we filter out the right people. But that being said, I think it's been that far gone now in terms of how long this kind of issue's been going on. A lot of like older keepers are always stuck in this mindset of they're this, they're that, and they don't really accept change, or if they won't take any kind of criticism or accountability. So it is difficult. For me, it's just pushing the right content and obviously speaking the right things to people, because I think that's the only way to get through to people nowadays. And obviously just allowing the right people to adopt. It is a difficult one, to be honest.
I mean, the language we use has a psychological impact. And so rather than referring to the animals as, I don't know how people, I refer
Stuff.
to them as family members, as, are you looking for a family snake? Are you looking for
Yes.
a family equine? Or, talk about these animals as if they are living, breathing, intelligent, autonomous organisms and not merchandise. That just disturbs me so much. And part of that, this is not like just a single person or a single organization that's going to be able to change the narrative, because while we can promote the use of different language and different terms when we speak about these animals, they also need to not be treated like commodities and merchandise. And that can only change on the other end of it, on the side that we would call retail, like expos, like shops, like, and it really disturbs me when somebody comes to me and rather than, they tell me that this is from my other business, they want a behavior consult because they're choosing a new snake or other animal, but they don't want to adopt one because they want a baby they can raise up. And I try to actually steer them the opposite direction, especially with royal pythons. And I'll just pick on that species. They're so shy and less confident as babies that they are in no way going to meet the expectations of a typical pet family. But an adult royal python that's established, that a rescue has full behavior and temperament information on, is going to be able to properly match that animal with the family and be able to tell that family, hey, this one is very amenable to handling and it's not easily startled and it's pretty active for this species. And I think that's a perfect situation versus getting a baby that they have no idea about the temperament or personality of that individual baby because the breeder isn't going to know that or tell them. And just innately, by being a baby, it's going to be shy and it's going to be less active, because I don't feel like that species in particular gains confidence until they're about 5 or 6 years old. So it's very disturbing to have people come to me and say, well, I don't want to adopt one, or I don't want to get an adult that's being rehomed. I want to get a baby. So that mindset also needs to be changed. There's just so many cogs in this wheel that would have to come together to change the whole outlook of animal keeping, that it almost seems overwhelming at times. And we can only
It is overwhelming.
So I just try to use language that is psychologically sending the message that these are family members and that they are living beings. And I try to do what I can education wise here and set an example, because I can't force people into changing their ways.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Referring to them as family really is everything, because you'll know pretty early on if someone's referring to the animal as an it or, like a thing. It's pretty quick to tell. Like, I ran into this literally yesterday. Someone was interested in one of our snakes and they were like, how old is it? And I'm like, it? Really? It? Like, he's a
and you have a
baby.
Listing with the name and the
and
that's how they
one thing, I don't know if this is fully relevant to this one or not, but we do avoid sharing the gender of our animals unless it's like something obvious, like if a crested gecko and he has his balls right there, we can't be like, we're not telling you the gender. It's kind of obvious. As we know with crested geckos proportions, it's a little hard to hide that. But yeah, we do hide the genders of our animals. I've found that it's been a major help in deterring breeders or people interested in breeding, because we're like, we don't tell the gender until the animal's, officially adopted and in your care. Like, once you get the animal, we'll tell you, surprise, this is what it is, or we'll write it on their little container that we hand them. But that's definitely helped a lot with, seeing them as more as like, this is a family member, not like a breeding object. So that kind of helps with that anxiety a little, because I always worry that, a breeder's going to put on a face, and it's hard. It's scary.
Yeah.
We don't disclose the morphs. I mean, some of them are obvious, but we'll just put, you can see the picture and it's a beautiful snake, and we're not going to tell you what the genetics are.
Exactly.
The furring from collections the word collection. Like, why are we making videos of here's my reptile collection?
Yeah, instant red
Why
flag.
are we doing that? Like, I cannot stand that. Like, these animals take time, effort, and energy to upkeep and care for, to socialize. They're not objects or things that don't take time. When, I work a full time job on top of rescue. So it's like, I don't think people really recognize how much time it takes to actually upkeep animals
Mm-hmm.
while working a full time job, having other, things that you have to do on your day to day schedule. A lot of people look at these, content creators who have a lot of animals and they think that that's the way in to be like working with animals and doing this thing and it's a luxury life and they don't see the hardship of it, of like, owning animals is cleaning up poop every day, it's changing waters every day, it's bringing to them to the vet, it's having a really high electricity bill,
Oh yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
watching collard greens rot sometimes in your fridge, or making trips and getting more food for them. It's not as luxurious as people think it is. There's a lot of
Monetary.
continuity. Yeah, there's a
Mm.
lot of continuity with like the day-to-day actions of having
Oh.
these
Oh yeah.
lives to take care of. It's not as luxurious as having this animal to take care of. They all have their different personalities. They all have things that make them unique and special and lovable. And I think just hitting off of what, Lori was saying too, it's really, really important that like you're advocating for, when people want an animal, these animals have their own biological outputs that they are predispositioned to. If somebody wants a dog and they're looking for a snake, but they want that snake to act like a dog, that person should just go get a dog. The
Mm-hmm.
snake is never going to be what they want
Yeah.
to be, because like
Exactly.
you can't ask a goldfish to climb a tree. They don't know how to climb a tree. They just know how to swim. So like
Yeah.
we have to really like start helping people learn how to ask the right questions when they're buying a pet or buying, a new family member, of like, what is your ideal family member? What are you
Yeah.
looking for from this
Mm-hmm.
animal? When you're picturing quality time with an animal, what do you picture? What is your
What does that
ideal
look
quality
like?
time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just knowing that you can feel love from something and not have a bunch of them around you. Like, you don't have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have a collection of animals to be somebody who's popular in the industry, right? That doesn't equate to popularity or fame or whatever you're searching for. And I
Yeah.
just hate this idea of like, oh, like so many animals just to,
Yeah. The
I
collection, the
don't,
word
yeah.
collection makes my skin crawl.
It's mad
It's
that
always,
YouTubers get new animals like every month or week. It seems some of the big
oh my
ones.
And
Yeah.
gosh.
it's a
Yeah.
biohazard
It's a,
risk,
it's a bad
truthfully. It's such a
example.
biohazard
And
risk.
then you never
And
see
And
them
they
post
don't,
that animal again.
Yeah,
and
it's mad.
it's so hard too, because it's like they also have keepers with them
Mm,
that they're not like partaking, like there's so much more to the picture that people don't understand. It's like
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Well, also,
unrealistic. There are unrealistic
especially in
things.
like some of the like Florida and that. It's because the weather's so good. People like they're outdoors, aren't they? As well. There's so many you can just keep adding and adding and adding. It's
yeah.
obviously you don't have to worry about it. It's
Yeah.
freezing, but it's
I mean,
crazy.
these people are unrealistic about the threshold at which that they can optimally care for the animals too. This
Yeah.
the perpetrator of the case from last April was on breeder tiers in people's Patreon communities, but she wasn't feeding her snakes or giving her snakes water, and they were living in filth and they were emaciated. But here they're paying every month the $100 or however much it is to be on the breeder tier of someone's Patreon.
Mad, isn't it?
That
Yeah.
is sick.
I went to an expo recently and I filmed it and I talked about it in the video that I made of like this just massive spread of leopard geckos. Like I was just sitting there, like just my jaw was hanging open, and it said buy one get one half off.
When I
Oh.
saw that
Oh my
table,
God.
And that
I
language,
remember it just like looking at all those geckos, just there were literally, it was 3L tables just with stacks of geckos in containers. And I remember just thinking like am I even making a difference right now? Like
I know.
this table alone has more animals than I've ever rescued in my whole life.
and that's one
That's
One
out
one
of
table.
this warehouse full of and to add to that, the
Mhm.
language of buy one get one half off.
Yeah,
that
like it's a
too.
clothing item or a toy.
It's
Or buy a female,
That's-
get a male free. I've
Oh
seen that sign.
gosh.
And
That's 40
if
years.
you as a
That's 40
breeder
years.
are having to handwrite a sign at an expo that says buy one get one free or buy one get one half off, then you're not a reputable breeder who is putting forethought into your program. What you should be doing is having more people that want your animals than animals you're producing.
Yeah,
That is somebody who's
exactly.
putting thought into it and is reputable.
Wait lists, yeah. Another thing I saw at that same expo was I saw a little boy, probably no older than 10 years old. He was asking a vendor, he was holding a little like leopard gecko container in his hand, and he's like, "Oh, like how long will it live for?" And the guy's like 3 or 4 years. It's like, "What? That's the expectation you're giving people?" Because they're not educating them on care. So I guess to be fair, if you put a leopard gecko in a 20-gallon with improper husbandry, I guess 3 or 4 years is pretty accurate. But that's just actually, I remember just like being like, are you serious right now? I documented so much from that expo. There was so much traumatizing footage and
Yeah, I
vendors
watched
there.
someone at an expo buy a chameleon, and then as they were about to leave the table with it, say, "Oh, by the way, what does it eat? What do I need to feed it?" Expos upset me so much that unless I get asked to speak,
Yeah.
to lecture there and I will educate anywhere, I don't go because I just can't stomach it. It makes me so sick to see the animals treated like merchandise and commodities.
Impulse buying.
And
Yeah.
impulse buying, and to see them displayed like that.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like if I paraded all of you on a stage and started taking bids for you. It just really turns my stomach.
I
It
don't
just
know
doesn't
much
feel
about
right.
expos, but is there any good expos that are changing now? Is there any like welfare led ones?
I
That are out
haven't been to any.
No.
I've
There's,
been to
um,
smaller because I think smaller is better, and I've been to one or two that have a more reputable people, but it doesn't seem like there are many that actually really vet the people that
Yeah.
are there.
You can't in like a 10-minute conversation. It's impossible, ain't it?
I mean,
So,
I've also
Yeah.
seen individual breeders who will have full setups at the expo.
Absolutely.
I'll reach out reptiles. Okay, they will bring enclosures there, and they will have their animals displayed in actual enclosures,
Yeah.
and they'll have heating and lighting for them.
And there are people that have, they do have protocols in that they will not release the animals unless they have a conversation and understand that they can see that the people have all the things that they need,
Yeah.
or they can buy them they won't give the animal out until that person has all those things.
Right.
So there are good people out there that are doing the right thing, that have small amounts for sale, and we want to support those people.
Yes.
yeah.
And so it's this, I feel the same way. It hurts to go to these expos, and at the same time, I also have started feeling like I have to go to also document and
voice.
look and see what's
That's
going
kind
on.
of where we are.
Yep. Us
You
too.
know,
Yeah,
and
that's
to
where we are.
and to talk to the people that I think are doing the right thing, and give them
100%.
props and be
100%.
like, I love what you're doing. This is the right way, or documenting it and saying, look at how awesome this is, or talking to someone and saying, I appreciate the way that you do this business, and usually it's people who do not rely on the animals for their main source of income.
That's a really good
Exactly.
point. So
Exactly.
I have a colleague here, Jay-Z of Jay-Z Reptiles, and he goes to expos, and I'm sure he generally doesn't make money there because he turns away more sales than he makes because he has conversations with people. And if he doesn't feel good about it, he won't sell the animal to them.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but again, it's not his sole source of income. He has another source of income.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot better when it's like a side thing, more of like, people wanting to preserve captive animals. I know a lot of people would disagree with this, but I don't think breeding should just be like something anyone can do. I feel like
I
it
agree.
would be really nice if, like, for example, each state or even each country had like a list of like, okay, these are the breeders that are approved, they're licensed to do this. If you want an animal, you can get on one of their wait lists. It shouldn't just be like, oh, okay, I can go get these 2 animals. I could inbreed them if I want to sell the babies. It's like there's no regulations. There needs to be a lot
Jordan,
more.
are there regulations in the UK for becoming a breeder?
There's not even one to be a rescue. That's how bad it is, in my opinion. So it's like anyone can start it. So there should be more legislations, and I think the good people will come forward and want to do
Absolutely.
that. Like if you've got any business, you want to put your best face on. So I think the good people would want to go down the right routes.
Yeah. Well, moving on, I want to just touch on something that I'm very curious about, which was how to know what is a reputable rescue organization versus a fake one or not trustworthy. What should people look out for if they're going to they want to rescue an animal, and how should they engage on social media with those organizations? How do they know?
Mhm.
I mean, I can just tell you here in Colorado, this is gonna vary based on where you're at. So it's gonna vary based on country, and maybe based on state. So in Australia, I mean, I've done quite a bit of research on this in Australia because of some groups that I admin that have a lot of people from Australia. I obviously know what the regulations are here. And while anybody can call themselves a rescue, you should be looking in the United States that someone's a 501c3, that they're registered with their state as a charitable organization. And depending on the state, like here in Colorado, you have to be licensed through PACFA, the Pet Animal Care and Facilities Act. So those are the first things. The second thing is, how transparent is that rescue with their the numbers of animals they have, their finances, and if they're not open to the general public, can you schedule a private visit? Like, we're not open to the general public, and GFAS doesn't recommend that. Like that, somebody can buy a ticket and come in and walk around your facility. We don't do that. But if anybody wanted to come and see our facility, they can make an appointment with us and they can come and see it.
I feel like that's important.
And we make videos about it all the time.
Yeah.
And so how are those animals being kept there? Are they being kept minimalistically, or are they being given optimal well-being? So those are just a few things that I would throw out there. And rescues need to be willing to talk to you, and they should be asking you a ton of questions and having long conversations with you. And they should be, if you feel like you're under a police interrogation, that's probably a good rescue.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Some big red flags are their quarantine standards. There was this one rescue nearby, and he wasn't 501c3 or anything. He had no sort of certification. But another thing was he would take in animals, and I'm not even kidding, he would adopt them out or sell them or whatever within like a week. No vet visits, no like stool testing, no fecal samples, not even a general exam. Just don't even keep them for a few days to see how they eat or anything. Just, they look pretty, I could make some money off of this, post them up for adoption. It's like quarantine, and having a proper quarantine period where you do whatever testing's needed and you do their fecal exams. I feel like that's so incredibly important, because you're just going to eventually, you're going to give someone a sick animal and it's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
I think just being like overall authentic as well. Like, social media is obviously the way of the world now, isn't it? So I think just, being as vulnerable as possible online, and just, putting a kind of face to the rescue. I think it's a very important thing to do.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I also think that if you aren't a 501(c)(3), but you are working towards a rescue status of getting there, just being aware of being, hey, we're not a
Yeah.
501(c)(3) yet, but we are trying our
Yeah.
damnedest to get there.
It's
And
a
we could
long
use your
process.
support.
It's a
Yeah.
process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Process.
it is a freaking process.
Mhm.
And I was lucky that it almost came on to me as a silver platter, but I know not many people get that. So, like, just being like very open with, your following of like, we're not there yet. I'm working towards it and we're going to keep doing it. And we're going to keep networking with people and interfacing with other rescues. Like, build a rescue army of people, see who those
Yes.
rescues are also affiliated with, because it's
Absolutely.
like that's how you know that they're also in deep with rescue. When they're talking with other rescues, they have an active vet, and they're grinding. You know
Yeah.
they're a
Yeah.
rescue when they're grinding, because let's be real, we don't sleep in rescue.
Oh
So
my
it's
gosh,
like,
no.
Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah,
Yeah, it sounds like again we're coming back around to the community. I and that it's really a good thing if rescues can work with each other as well, and this networking, and that way oh, people can see that they are, maybe on your website you have a list of friends for other rescues that you think are great, other
Yeah.
rescues that you feel are reputable.
Yep.
If we can't take in this animal, or if we don't have an animal
Yeah.
that you want to take from, like, these are things that are going to build up the trustworthiness of the organization. So these are all things to look
I
out
will
for.
also add follow-up support and just
Mm,
taking, and I think you alluded to this, like our process is pretty long, where you have to fill out an application, and then there's a lot of interviewing and virtual meetings or home visits, and then you still have to fill out a contract and be approved
Yep.
and all this. And we've had a couple of
mhm,
people that during that process have changed their mind and said, well, this happened in my life and I just don't feel like I can follow through. And I think that's good that we're learning that now before the animal's with
Absolutely.
that person, because if something happened during the process, and so now you don't want to adopt the animal, what would have happened if that same thing had happened after you had the animal? Would you turn around quickly and want to give it back or want to rehome it? I feel like there's a lack of staying power with some people. They get an animal and then feel like one little thing in their life happens or goes wrong, and so therefore they can't keep the animal. And I can tell you, yeah, I've been alive a long time and I've always had animals, and I've never rehomed one because I've changed
Exactly.
jobs or wanted a different animal or moved or had financial setbacks. I've always found a way to keep those animals and
I
maintain.
think that goes right back around to the way that we value these animals versus mammals, because
yeah,
someone's much more likely to rehome their reptile than they are to rehome their cat and their dog and their mammal animals. Like, for some reason, this is just like, well, I'll get rid of those and then it'll be simpler, and I just, it's like easier.
Yeah.
Where for me, I can't even imagine,
Right.
like, nobody's like easier than the other
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go.
Right.
yeah.
Well, I want to make sure that we touch on this, as far as how you guys fundraise, promote, and raise funds to do what you do. And I'm going to make sure to follow up with all of you and put it in the description of how you guys can be supported by the people that are listening. But if you can just touch on, what beside how you bring in money, what besides money do you take in, and how, and like what would make that process easier? How can people help you? So let's go backwards this time. Jordan, do you want to start?
Yeah, so over here, we just typically the common theme for rescues is we ask for a minimum donation or a donation. So there's no like set fee like you would go into a pet shop. And usually people are, quite respectful of what they offer. Second to that, I run like a school community in a private Facebook group. So in exchange for people's donations monthly, I like to give them value. I've been in a lot of Facebook groups, and as you know, they can be quite toxic. So I like to run mine like that. So people, they'll donate, but in exchange they're getting good value and help with the husbandry and stuff like that as well. So that's
Okay,
why.
so it's educational.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
awesome.
educational and anyone can join. So that's the way I like to do it.
So I donate 100% of all my Patreon earnings to the 501c3. And then we have volunteers that are on our fundraising team that run online auctions. We used to do in-person events here in Colorado, but honestly, we always lost money on those because you had to rent space. We put a lot of money into promoting it or into buying things for the setup, and we just never came out ahead. So we do online auctions. We will host events here. Like last year, the IAABC, which is the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants, had part of their conference here, and the fees that we had them pay the fees directly to the 501c3. So we do also just ask for flat out donations through PayPal Giving Fund, or some people still want to mail checks, although that makes me nervous because I worry about mail theft. But we just try to promote on social media through our educational videos on YouTube, through showing the work that we do here, and then doing actual work to help animals and putting that money back into the 501c3. So we also board a couple of horses here, and that board money goes into the 501c3. It's really hard to be a self-sustaining nonprofit. I think every single one of our board members, especially my husband and I, put a lot of our personal money into it because there's no way that we get enough donations to finance everything every year. And so we also have a savings account set up that's a veterinary savings account just for veterinary expenses, because the last thing I want to have happen is need veterinary care for one of the animals and then not have the money to be able to pay for it. So we don't touch that fund for anything other than veterinary expenses. It's just hard to establish that up front. So one thing I've learned over the 12 years we've been doing this is put the money in there up front and then start taking in animals, because if you try to do it in the reverse, it's very, very difficult and it's a really big financial hardship.
Right now, social media is everything. Like Lori said, we'd do a lot of events and we'd put in more money than we were making back just to set up like a tent and to set up a table and to have things and to, rent a space out somewhere. We would always lose money, 100%. So right now, social media truly is everything. Posting on Instagram, posting on TikTok, on Facebook. That's how we get all of our donations. I do have someone who does a recurring donation every month. So we only have one person doing that, but it is super, super helpful because it's, the first of every month. It's like a little boost to get us through. And it's difficult. I mean, last year when I was 17, I put in $12,000, and in donations we made back $9,000. So it's like I lost $3,000. I don't actually have like a real job. I would just kind of, walk dogs and make it work. But like I'm doing school full time, so it's hard. It's like trying to get the funding, but we always make it work. I mean, my parents will help me and then I pay them back or whatever. Like no one will ever go without what they need because of funding. That's never ever going to be an issue.
And once your paperwork goes through, it's going to be easier to get donations.
I can't wait to be done with it.
Speaking of, also, we should talk later because I have supplies that I wanted to donate, and you're the closest person to me. So let's talk after.
Absolutely.
Mandy?
So I work a full-time job. And that's where anywhere where we're short on donations, I take from and I donate to our rescue through there. So it comes out of my personal paycheck as well, because I'm the founder and the owner. We get ad revenue from social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that fun stuff. But on top of it, we have subscribers for our educational ambassadors that people choose to donate to monthly. We also have people who will donate monthly for an animal that has passed in
Oh,
they had been following. So like it's kind of like a way to keep them alive.
Oh,
right.
So we have people who donate to keep them alive. We also have educational events that we run that to come out there to set up our stuff to give a presentation to kids. We will get a donation for that as well. That goes straight back to the animals and our veterinary, services that we need done. Our veterinary office, we also have shed jewelry that every purchase that is made at our vet's office, it gets right put back on to whatever invoice that we have outstanding with our vet's office. So the shed that any of our animals shed gets made into pendants. We save every piece of it. Everybody gets to take a piece of our animals with them wherever they go. We're trying to find a way so that we can take commissions. With me working a full time job and a lot of our other volunteers working their own full time jobs, and half of us are chronically ill on top of it, it makes it a little bit hard. I don't know why we are also determined to help sick animals while we're also pretty
yep.
sick ourselves, but I guess it's just the way things go. So that's kind of what we do. And then in other money making methods, Bougie Beardies, who's an online influencer, has donated to us multiple times. She
Oh,
has been a huge asset. She is known for Chuck the Bearded Dragon online. She has also sent her following to donate to us when we needed noodle surgery done. She has been there as a crutch for us and some really financial hardship. So just also a shout out to her because we have needed support.
It sounds like these recurring donations are so crutch for you guys. And I just
they
want
are so helpful.
everyone listening to think about this. If you even donated $2 to $5 a month,
Literally, it makes a difference,
It's
especially when
huge.
every
multiple
month,
people do it.
it's not that much money for you.
It's a Starbucks
But
coffee.
over the course of time for these rescues, it can make a world of difference. So, everybody watching, there will be links down below for you to be able to do this. And I highly, highly, highly recommend everyone start to donate to you guys. One more thing that actually what you are talking about just now, I wanted to make sure we talk about because you're talking about health and how everyone's
Yeah.
chronically ill. And, my channel is not just about snakes, it's about mental and emotional health and how these animals, can bring us joy.
They're
And
healing.
and they are healing. But then it just makes me wonder the toll on your mental and emotional health of dealing with what you deal with every single day, of not only having to witness just horrible conditions that these animals come in on, but like the massive amount, the just daily grind. What are some ways that you cope with the heartache and the pressure that comes from what you see and experience?
I mean, I'm grateful I've got some good people to lean on. I'm very big on talking about stuff, asking for help, and I think it's important. You can't take all the load on yourself, and not forgetting to prioritize yourself. Because even though you are running a rescue, if you burn out, the rescue burns out. So I like to go. I own a gym, so I like to train. I like to look after my mental health. So all these things for me are important, and just having a set routine. Like I know when I come home, I'm going to get my routine done with the animals and just not skipping a day so nothing kind of gets on top of me. That's what I like personally to do.
I just disengage from things I can't control that upset me. And I focus on the individual animals here and making sure that they're experiencing the optimal, most optimal well-being that we can provide here. And I receive joy from seeing them content and being well. I do get distressed with ones that are chronically ill, and I go to the vet. I make frequent trips to the vet. We have usually 2 standing appointments a month at the vet, and then I let her know before we get there who I'm bringing because I know we're going to need to go up there. So I guess I get most distressed about the animals that we're treating that aren't getting better or that are chronically ill. But even those, I just focus on what I can do and try not to dwell on what's out of my control. And, I love animals. And so I enjoy giving the animals that are here the best lives possible. And I have to ignore a lot of stuff that's outside or it's too upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have my own things that I enjoy doing, spending time with my own animals, my horses, my dogs, my own snakes, training them. I love training them and teaching them new behaviors. And then I usually listen to podcasts while I'm working that are usually science-based or animal training based, and that's enjoyable. And then I love science fiction. So for 1 hour a day, I watch TV, and it's usually some science fiction show I've already seen 100 times. It's really comforting.
Me too.
Just on that, I was just going to talk about something you mentioned there. The guilt. Do you feel in a guilt? Do you feel that a lot? So sometimes, obviously, let's say you got 40 animals. You can't sometimes give them 5-star everything. In terms of especially snakes. Like when I adopt out, I make sure they all have UVB. But sometimes, if it's an emergency situation, I can't offer certain things that I would necessarily rehome to. Mm-hmm. How do you guys deal with the guilt sometimes when you're in your rescue situation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm dealing with that right now because those 67 snakes we took in was a massive amount at once. Yeah. And I had to make sure that they were set up with minimal optimal welfare, which meant we don't use tubs or racks here at all. So everyone is in some type of habitat. But what we did was we got grow tents and I set them up in the grow tents. And so each one had at least a couple of hides. At first, we couldn't give them substrate because they were so ill. They had to be on paper or puddle pad. And some of them are still under medical care. But we made sure each one had hides, enrichment items. And then just frankly, having a clean environment and water was like an upgrade for these animals.
Literally, yeah.
So, the ones that we knew were most likely to be adopted out first, we focused less on giving more enrichment to first. But now we're 10 months in. And so the ones that are still here are transitioning to full enclosures and getting substrate and getting additional items above and beyond the minimum because really, 10 months is no longer temporary. And while some of them may still be adopted out, we need to make sure that we're providing for them in the same way that we're providing for the sanctuary for life animals. Yeah. So we do have steps, but at minimum, everybody's in some type of habitat that they can see out of, that we can see in, that we are able to put lighting in if we can. Like at first they were just in ambient temperatures, but honestly, I keep the facility so hot that there are days when I don't even turn on the lighting because it overheats the enclosure.
I struggle with that.
I can't stand being cold, so we keep it about 78 to 80 in here. Anyway. So we make sure that everybody has the best welfare we can give them for their individual circumstances. And then we're constantly trying to improve that the longer they're here.
Yeah. I think, guilt, I'm sure I can't imagine not feeling some anyway, but keep in mind that you're giving these animals more than they had before and that you are ensuring that when they go, they will have even more.
That's true.
So don't hold on to that guilt. You are doing the good work, man.
It's really nice home. One of the snakes go to their new home and be in like a fantastic habitat, whether it's naturalistic or bioactive, and have the space and have people give you updates. And I talked a little bit about support after an adoption. We stay in contact with our adopters. We reach out to them if we're not hearing from them, and we have a private Facebook group set up so that all of the adopters can share their animals.
Smart.
That's
really cool. Actually, I love that idea.
That's great. And that should be a good boost to your mental health too, is like seeing the happy animals later.
I think that would be really good for mental health. Absolutely. Because we have to see, I'm sure all of you guys also, we all have to see so much trauma and so many animals not in good conditions. It would be really nice to see some of our alumni just thriving and doing well, knowing that's because of us. I feel like that would be a really great feeling. So that's really cool. I love that.
A lot of coffee as well.
Oh my
Basically.
Oh
gosh.
yeah. Oh yeah. I knew I had an issue with caffeine when like I got blood work done recently and the doctor was like, your B6 levels are really high. I just have to ask, are you drinking a lot of energy drinks lately? And I just said, yeah, actually I am. Why? Is that an indicator? And they were just like, yeah, B6 is an indicator that you're drinking a lot of energy drinks. That's usually where B6 is found in. And I'm like, okay.
Uh-oh.
Well, we're gonna
And
have to
Rescue
rescue
got to
you.
now
you.
I'm trying to take a little bit of a cut because I'm like, oh God, it's that obvious. I didn't realize I was this addicted. Oh,
I'm the same.
Mm. Kayla,
it's
are there other
bad.
things for you that help you cope?
It's really hard. I feel like I've been stuck in compassion fatigue for the past like 3 months or so. I like can't get out of it. Um, Grief is such a big thing. I mean, last year we
Mm.
had 38 hospice cases where it's like we took them in, loved on them, tried our best just for them to ultimately have to be euthanized. It's like it's a really hard feeling, especially when it's not something they're born with. Like for example, when it's because they have like adenovirus or because they have crypto, it's like I feel some peace knowing like this wasn't caused by like, this wasn't like someone neglected this animal and did it to them. But when they come in with like metabolic bone disease so bad that they can't walk, that they can't even get to their basking spot, it's just that's when it gets really bad because you're just thinking like you could have lived a perfectly normal, healthy life and somebody took that away from you and
Yeah.
I couldn't fix it. You know what I mean? It's a really hard feeling. Grief and compassion fatigue, they're very real. Check in with your rescue friends, people watching this. Same with veterinary medicine. It's a very real thing.
I'm gonna be calling you like, all the time.
Uh,
It's the
yeah,
best thing.
you guys need to make sure that you keep in touch after, and you guys
Right?
have people to talk to when you need
A
it.
community is so important. Like
Community is really
doing it
important.
alone is really difficult. You need to have support. Like Jordan said, having a lot of people that you can like lean on it with and you can share, whatever you're going through with. It helps a lot. It really does.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, if no one has anything else to add to that, then I just want to wrap this up with some happy feels.
Yeah.
And if we can go around and, short but sweet, your favorite success story from rescuing and rehoming an animal. Mandy, go.
Um, it's Noodle by far. We were given lashback because how could we let something like that live? Even though we were given our vet's medical concurrence that he had a chance to survive, and it wouldn't affect his quality of life because reptiles are resilient. Our foster Maddie did an amazing freaking job with him. Gave him respiratory treatments every day for like pretty much like 6 months straight. He was on Fortaz for a really long time. He got his tail amputated just right above where that cloacal opening is, to remove the exposed vertebrae. It took him a hot minute to heal his whole face. He has a maxilla, pretty much deformity now as a result of that. But Maddie fell in love with him because how could you not after caring for an animal that long? So he is now forever homed with her.
Oh.
He
Oh,
is now a forever ambassador with us at A Shedding Chance. And it has been the biggest honor to keep watching him eat on his own, to watch him strike. We know when he gets hungry now. He's been just thriving, and it's been insane watching this snake take a complete 180. It's like, oh my God, the best thing. Like, every time I look at him, I'm like, oh, Noodle, you look so cute. And it's just like, oh, it's crazy. It's just insane.
It's such a rewarding feeling. Um, Actually pretty similar to Noodle, except she's a little normal ball python. No idea how old she was. She was dropped off in a cardboard box along with a totally healthy ball python outside of a PetSmart. They were just left there, no information. They did it like an hour before they opened. They saw on the camera, so that probably they wouldn't have to talk to anybody or answer any questions. So we took them both in. One of them was very underweight. His mouth, he had all the like telltale signs of nidovirus. So we were super worried. Like all of like the bubbles coming out of the mouth and the nose and the oral cavity was super infected and swollen. her mouth like didn't close at all. It would just kind of sit like that. And it took a lot of Fortas, it took a lot of injections. It took keeping the basking spot, warmer than it's supposed to be. And even now, she's doing great. We still have her, unfortunately, how it is with normal morph ball pythons, but she's a big, big, fat, healthy lady. She eats now. Her mouth looks really great. I remember when we first were doing all her nido swabs, we sent out like 6 of them. And the first one, when we put the swab in her throat and took it out, all of the mucus was black. I had never, ever in my life seen it that dark colored. I've seen it with like brown. I've seen it with some green. I've never seen the Q-tip come out completely black. I was actually horrified. I was convinced this snake had nido. When we got that 6 negative test and like all the bubbles were gone, I'm like, no, wait, you're actually negative. But like Mandy said, I had people, when I first got this snake, I had people shaming me for not euthanizing her. I had people saying like, you're keeping this snake alive. Like, she also had on the back of her neck, her bone was exposed from being bitten by a live rat. It looks great now. It's a little scar, but it's, level and you don't see her bone anymore. They heal so great. I was so angry at everyone that was saying that. I'm like, she's been to the vet. I took her to the emergency vet when I got her. They said like, it's of course not a guarantee, but if she's negative for nidovirus, she has a shot at getting better. And what do you know? She's great now.
Yeah, I want to interject there, and because people asked, how can they support you as rescues, and it's just come to my mind that, hearing you both say that you've been shamed for having faith that you can help these animals live. If anybody who's listened this far sees that happening online, something they can do is support and maybe make a comment about how good it is that you are doing your best to save this animal. This animal deserves to be saved, to stop this cycle of shame going on here, because that is not helpful in any way, shape, or form to you guys, to the animal.
So it's also like we listen to our vet. Our vet has the medical degree to determine that. We don't.
Yeah.
Like that's another thing that I think people get confused, is that like
100%.
we don't like choose an animal and we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this animal suffer. No, we go through a vet that gives a quality of life, examination, and if they believe, based on the medical examination, that this animal has a fighting chance and we can do it, yeah, shoot, let's go for it. If they don't, then we will absolutely follow our vet's guidance.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had people in the beginning of this huge rescue we did criticize us for taking the animals to the vet. Why are you spending so much money taking all those snakes to the vet? Why don't you just have a vet do a bulk exam at your facility? Or why are you spending so much on vet care?
Oh my gosh.
And, that's infuriating, because that's our number one priority here with all the animals is nutrition and veterinary care. And then after all of that is taken care of, then we do other things like facility improvements and such. But at any rate, I have a lot of success stories that are still here at the sanctuary, but one that did go all the way through to adoption is a snake that was part of this rescue from April, severely emaciated and starved and dehydrated, and then had mites. So she got treated with mites, with NexGard 3 times, had a severe infection of parasites, internal parasites, was having chronic diarrhea. So I think we ended up having to treat that one 3 times with benzazole. Had an adopter almost from the beginning interested in her, but every time we took her back to the vet for her health certificate, which here is called a CVI, it's a certificate of veterinary inspection, in order to be, approved for travel and get the approval to put on our adoptions list, it got denied. The vet's like, not yet, not yet. I think this snake went to the vet, I don't know how many times, until finally, I think it was 6 months in, or 6 or 7 months in, that she finally got approved to be adopted and passed her her exam for her health certificate. And so our transport team transported her to the St. Louis area where my parents live, and she stayed overnight there a couple of nights, and her adopter came to my parents' house and picked her up. And my mom said that she was just crying. She was so happy to finally get this snake, that she was so afraid during this whole time that something was going to happen to her. And we had told her she could adopt a different snake, but she wanted that one, and she was willing to wait however long it took until the snake got well. And then I think a few weeks after the snake was home, she she developed an RI. And many of the snakes from this situation this winter have gotten RIs, and the cultures are indicating they all have overgrowths of different things. So they're not getting it from each other. And my vet seems to think that it might be an underlying issue seasonally with some of these snakes, because they've just been immunocompromised from the port air. But anyway, so then the adopter treated the snake for the RI, and now she's doing well, but she's in a phenomenal home, has a great habitat, is getting great care, and is absolutely loved by this person.
That's so sweet. These are the moments that make it worth it, for sure.
For sure. What about you, Jordan?
I've had a few cases. I think the most memorable one was there was basically an abandoned apartment, and there was loads of geckos left in enclosures. And the landlord thankfully brought me all the enclosures and the geckos, but there was like 2 dead in one of the enclosures with another gecko. So there's about 3 of them in like a 2 foot by 2 foot viv. So this one was like close to death, like it was on the brink, very emaciated, dehydrated. So we had to syringe feed, Repti boost, loads of baths for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then finally started to pick up a bit of energy, and over the course of the month started to eat, and then thankfully turned it around. And he actually went to a 4x2x3, which was a really nicely kitted outfit. And his name was Eric. He was a lovely little thing, but he literally's got the best life now. So it's mad that if that guy didn't bring me those enclosures or didn't spot him, he would have been unfortunately died. It's one of them. But yeah, very sad.
Well, thank you all so much for what you do, because you are making a difference. And I know that we spoke about how overwhelming it can be, because I even get overwhelmed when I see the issues that I see, and I can imagine how it must feel when you're just trying to save the few animals that you can. But like you are making a difference in the world, and I think that the work that you do is incredible, and I'm so grateful that you exist. I wanted to check if there's anything else you guys want to share or plug for your organization before we sign off.
Just anyone looking to, get into reptiles or get another reptile, if you can, always check with rescues first. Check with rescues near you. They might have the exact species you're looking for with the exact temperament. You never know. And it would be so helpful to whatever rescue. Even just rescuing one animal gives some space to take in another, and it really does make a difference. So I'll always just at least check. It can't hurt to check. You might find exactly what you're looking for.
The amount of animals that need help now is crazy. It's getting worse over here, so I can imagine what it's like over there. And unfortunately, people don't even know about rescues. Like a lot of people just automatically think pet shop. I want an animal pet shop. And there's a lot of establishments that don't really get seen or heard of. So this is why social media is so important now. And anybody who is watching this that isn't a rescue, just share posts, interact. Anything like that, it all helps out and reaches new eyes on the pages.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for gathering all here today.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this for a really long time, and I'm more than happy to have more conversations about this topic. I am hoping to reach out to a couple organizations that weren't able to make it today, or there were scheduling conflicts. There are so many of them out there, guys.
There really are.
And they all are doing very slightly different things in slightly different states or countries, or there's all these different elements that they have to deal with. So I'm probably going to do some interviews with some of those organizations separately, because I believe that this needs to be talked about more, and there needs to
Absolutely.
be more awareness about what you guys are dealing with and what changes we can make, even if they're small, in
Yeah.
how we are in herpetoculture, how we act, and where we put our money.
Even I've learned a lot today. It's good to discuss, because like even from other rescues you pick up things that you can do, that you don't do already. It's good.
That's
We've
great.
all got to
Of
get better.
course.
That's great.
So it's good.
Well, thank you all. I know we went longer than I planned, but I really appreciate all of you so much.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
You
Thank
as well.
you.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you all.